Mag 7 update here on the 6th. Start off here with Meta. So Meta just going straight up, no resistance, above everything, above the 50, the 20, the 200 on the weekly and the daily. Extremely bullish. Not really anything else to say about it other than going over what the pattern could be. What could this be? I thought this was going to be a B wave because you had this move up, you had this move straight down. I was expecting something up here around max like 590, I think. 586, and it's already broken above that. This could be a few different things. I think it's starting to look like a diagonal to me. It's starting to look like potentially maybe we pull back here to like 550. And even then, it could be going much higher before it pulls back. It's looking like a diagonal. The 1.61 fib of the first wave is here at 641. I don't think it's going to go to 641 anytime soon. I would imagine we get a pullback here on the daily standard deviation. You can see here at the very top of the range. So it makes a lot of sense to pull back at least over the next like couple of weeks, I would imagine. And then after that, go much higher. So I don't know exactly when the earnings are, but I know that they're this month. And if they're going to have a correction, it makes a lot of sense at this point to correct into earnings based on where we're at. So to me, this looks like potentially a third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave of a diagonal. If it's really going to correct, it could technically be a B wave here. So it could be we could get something like that, but that would be a pretty big correction. That would be a 30% correction or like a 25% correction. So what makes the most sense is you have support here between 496 and 544. Even if it's a fourth wave or if it's a C wave, I expect it to land somewhere in this range, probably over the next month, I would say. But it's kind of hard to say on Meta right now because there's a lot of different patterns that could be in play. So it's obviously bullish because we're above every every moving average, but standard deviations we're getting up there, and so I think a pullback makes the most sense. Maybe starting tomorrow or maybe here soon, back down to at least 545. So we'll see what happens with Meta. I do think regardless if it pulls back, it's got another pump. So that is Meta. Let's go over Google. So Google, I have all the levels mapped out again. It's above every moving average on the daily, on the weekly, above everything except for the 20 right here. So I'm bearish on this short term, similar to Meta, because it is in a supply zone right here. I think this is 2-day, and no, this is daily, and then this is a 3-day zone right here. And it recently filled a gap, I think. We have a gap up here at 183. We have a gap down here at 152. There's a small gap here at 161. So similar to Meta, I'm expecting a pullback to at least 160 here soon. This could also be a diagonal. Remains to be seen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or this was the top of the fifth wave, which makes more sense because we've already hit the 1.61 fib here. I know it's kind of hard to see. And then pulled back and then made one more move higher after that, and then got this humongous move down. So I think this is more than likely in a B wave. I don't think it's going to make, it could make new highs, but I think it's going to be a B wave. So I'm expecting this after a while. So right now, starting that B wave, probably in the A wave of the B wave. But again, you don't know how long this is going to last. It could last, let's see, this lasted about 2 months. I would expect this to last at least 2 months. So at least through the election, but probably longer, I would imagine. We've already taken up basically a month on this move right here. So I would imagine this lasts through the end of the year up here. And we're probably going to fill this gap up here at 183. So something like that, I would say. And this could be a quick correction right here too. I think this actually started, pretty sure this already started right here. This is an expanded flat. So I think that this could end really quickly down here somewhere, maybe between 158 and 161. So I'm looking for a small correction on Google as well, and then probably melt up after that. Amazon. Similar to the other ones, I think that this is ready to correct a little bit. And then again, it's debatable. Is this the fifth wave or was this the end of the fourth wave? Kind of go back and forth on that, but it doesn't really matter. You can watch this. This is not an impulse move. So that's kind of a red flag in my opinion. I don't see this as an impulse. I actually see this as a 5-wave move. So I think this actually makes a lot of sense for it to go like this as well. Back down here to like, so maybe it already completed the B wave, maybe it goes a little bit higher, maybe it comes up here to 191 one more time, and then falls back down here to at least 176. Gap fills, I don't think there's any gap fills, but I could be wrong. There's no gap fills at all. So yeah, I think it's kind of similar to Google. Pullback and then probably another melt up after that. So this looks like it's probably going to break the highs though. If it only comes back down here to 172 and the bottom is at 152, we're probably going up here to like 210, 220, something like that after it's finished, regardless of if it's a 5-wave move or if it's an ABC move. So again, into resistance here, fell. That resistance is still there, but you have support down in here on the daily time frame. This finished just below the 20. That's another reason why it's slightly bearish. Barely though, by like 10 cents, but still enough for it to come back down here, potentially hit the 200 down here on the weekly time frame. You also have, if it wants to get really bearish, you have the 50-day down here at 170. So it is above the 20 on the weekly. But here's what you're working for, just between these two boxes right here, basically. And I would expect down here to like 175 to 166. So I'm not expecting like a huge correction into the election, but I do think we're going to get some kind of correction over the next like week or so, maybe. I think it could start tomorrow, to be honest. I think tomorrow would be a perfect time. They could rug pull into Tesla's robo-taxi and then melt up after that's over with into the election. Apple. All right, Apple. I think, again, I think this is another diagonal. That's what makes the most sense to me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. If we zoom in here, I think the same thing on Apple. I think that this is likely to make a small correction. Maximum down here to 208. But probably just down here to 222 to 213. Something like that. And then it's probably going to go like this. It's going to go up here. I'm expecting it can't go past 265 based on the dimensions of these waves. The third wave is shorter than the first wave. So this can't be longer than the third wave. And if you do the math, it's like 265. So this is probably going to be some kind of short third wave, pull back, short fifth wave like that, and then sell off. So that's what I'm expecting. And we'll see what happens. Support here at 222 to 213, resistance at 232 to 236, and the moving averages are all good. It's above every moving average on the daily and on the weekly. So you have this weekly 20 down here. That actually looks like a pretty good spot for it to come down here and test. So I'm not expecting that big of a sell-off on Apple either. So basically the theme is not very big of a sell-off on anything. Maybe like a week or two. Nvidia, keeping the theme alive. I'm expecting potentially a sell-off down here to 111. But, I mean, it's bullish on all the moving averages. And this pattern looks like it might play out as, it could be a few different things. It could be A, B, C, and then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. This comes back down here to 111. It's got resistance here at 127. You have support here at 111 with daily demand. So I don't think this is going to come down here to 98 bucks or anything lower. You can look at the standard deviations. We're at the very low end here. So I think coming down here makes a lot of sense and then going higher. But I do think there's a very good chance it topped out. Fifth wave topped out here. It doesn't mean we have to be topping out price-wise. It can still go like this and then come down here later. So this is likely some kind of ABC move or triangle, and it's going to break out after a small pullback here. So Nvidia basically bullish, but potentially pull back here to low 110-ish. Microsoft. Microsoft's one of the ones that looks more bearish. It's below every moving average on the daily. On the weekly, it's below the 20. It has support here at the 50. But just like all the rest of them, I'm expecting a small correction in Microsoft. Down here to this gap fill at 406, because that would complete 5 waves. And then with Microsoft, I'm not really sure, to be honest. This is A, this is B. Is this going to be a first wave and it goes back up like this and then comes down later? Or is this going to end up doing more than this? Maybe it goes down here and then melts up later. So based on the other stocks, I think that this makes the most sense, 406 and then bounce. But if you're looking at this like normally, I would say this is probably coming down here to 366, 375 if it was a normal stock, which none of the Mag 7 are really normal stocks. They're just ways to keep the market propped up. So I would say 406, bounce, but this does look like a head and shoulders to me. A little bit of a head and shoulders here. So potentially this comes all the way down here to this area, 366 to 373. I don't think it's going to happen right away, but you could be getting the first wave right here. So on this, we could be making this weight right here. And then it just corrects right here and then sells off down here. So Microsoft already in support here, 400 to 415. Probably coming down here to 406 to the gap fill and then bouncing or doing something else corrective wise that I can't see at the moment. So the supply and demand is so helpful because these Mag 7 stocks the waves are really difficult a lot of the time, because if you're just looking at waves only, you're gonna mess up because there's too many combinations of things that can happen. So you have to have gap fills, and you got to have supply and demand. And so right here, I know this is a good area to buy just because in demand, it's already been selling off a lot, and there's a gap fill here. But if I was looking at this with Elliott wave, I wouldn't necessarily know that. So that's my thoughts on that. You can see here it hit into supply and immediately came out back down here to demand. So that is 6 out of the 7. I've already done Tesla on other videos, and I still think that what I went over in those videos is valid, and I haven't looked at it this weekend, so I got to refresh my memory. But I think that there are 3 possibilities here, or 2 possibilities here. No, there's 3. 3 possibilities. Well, first of all, it'll be A, B, C up here to 258. Next one is pullback here, third wave up to like 260. We go all the way up here to like 280. Pull back and go even higher up here to at least 290. Or this other one that is a possibility is WXY. This is the bearish one, in which this was actually supposed to be a B wave. So this would be a come down here. So we've already filled this gap down here, but there's another gap at 241 now from this move up. So I think it's very likely, out of all the possibilities, basically all of them, I would say 9 out of 10 times we're going to come back down here and fill this gap at 241 first before we go higher. I don't really see this happening very often. Just keep on going higher right here. I think we need to pull back first instead of going straight to this gap at 258. So on all 3 of those scenarios, I'm leaning towards a pullback early in the week. But we'll see. I could be completely wrong, and the market could be super green right now. I haven't looked at futures. But that's just what I see. It's in supply, and you got a gap down here. So, and plus, everyone is super bullish going into the weekend. The only thing that's really bullish to me is you can look at this 1 hour. We're at the very bottom of the standard deviations. But on the 15-minute, these can be kind of confusing too if you use them wrong, because on the 15-minute we're at the very top. On the hourly we're at the bottom. What are you using for this? Are you going to be using 15-minute or the hourly? Did this break the high? And there's a possibility, I would say a very good possibility, that this was a first wave right here, or an A wave. So look where the 1.61 fib is on this. Right at the gap fill. So in supply, gap fill is at the 1.61 fib. I'm leaning towards this early in the week. And then that's where you'd want to buy, actually. The reason you want to buy here is because you are taking the risk reward for this to go higher. And so you're risking $3 or $4 to make $17. So you're getting a 4-to-1 ratio, basically. And if you're wrong, then that means this is probably a 5-wave move or an ABC pattern lower. So it could go like this, and then move down here to 228. So again, buy down here is a good entry, in my opinion, with a stop below the low. So that's my thoughts on the Mag 7. Leave a comment, like, subscribe for more updates. Let me know what you think. I'm leaning towards, on the overall market, I'm leaning towards small pullback, pump into the election. That's my #1 scenario. Pullback for like maybe into robo-taxi, maybe a little bit later, and then pump into the election. That's it. Talk to you soon.